with shrubbery. Hey, I'm Johnny Edwards. Welcome to Starving Artist. This is a segment we're calling Today's Special. So today's special, we're going to make a rock with a tree coming out of it. We've got this steel armature here that we're going to cover in Bondo Body Filler, and we're going to sculpt the bottom to have a cement rock surface. All right. Actually, before we start anything at all, we have to do one thing, and that's make a tool. You get a beater old broom that you won't mind cutting a few strands out of. You chop these bad boys off. With this tool that we're gonna make ourselves is gonna give us the perfect wood grain texture. We take this body filler, mix up a little batch, and we build a handle for this new brush we're gonna make. So catalyst, this is polyester resin, much like fiberglass, same thing, but this has a filler in it. The percentage of catalyst you need for this amount or for any amount is 1 to 3%. So to figure that out, I like to take the blob I've got here and I cut it in half. I'm at 50% now. Cut that in half, I'm at 25. Cut that in half, I'm at 12 and a half. Cut that in half, I'm at 6 1/4. Cut that in half and I'm 3 something. So somewhere between this and all that. So to match that, I will put a blob here, about that size, and then bring all this back together. So we got this thing all mixed up here, gets nice and consistent. Take some of it here and put it on a little piece of plastic that we've already cut ahead of time. You blob this stuff on there, and then you put the bristles into it. Put a little more on top. Then you fold this over. And I like to form it a little bit at this point. So that's gonna be our tool we're gonna make wood grain with. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and take this and smear some on here. Just because I need to fill in some areas. Now I like to keep a cup of solvent around to clean my spreader with. If you're an animal, you'll just let it kick off on there and break it off later. But that's classless and depressing. If you're doing a car, you don't want to mix a new batch on top of a piece that you've made an old batch, but we're doing trees, it doesn't matter. What I enjoy is making fine art out of industrial materials. There's a little bit of reek to this, there's solvents involved, so you might want to wear a respirator. It's stinky. It's gonna stink up the house or the shop or whatever. Trying to get a little thickness where they join together here. Trying to get a little meat on the root. Not worried about it too much about how it's laying. It's starting to cure. But this for sure is already kicked off. This is the brush we were laying up earlier. You can now peel the plastic. You've got this cake thing now and you just kind of pluck off the stuff that's ugly. There we go. So this is going to help us make a nice wood grain. So here's where this comes in, right? Drag it in it. Directionally. A lot of people make trees out of epoxy. You can do them out of cement. Alright, see how it's got a little diagonal twist to it. When it's first mixed, when you drag through it, it settles, it shines up, you can see it real shiny and you lose a little bit of detail. As it cures, the details stay in a little more. It cures up a little bit, you get finer line. So at this point it's cured up a little bit. I've only been away from it from about 30 seconds to a minute. But what I have here is like a cheese grater like surface. It's called a Sureform. It's made specifically for knocking down the edges of this. Seems like I'm just carelessly putting it on here. And yeah, kinda. But also somewhat strategic in trying to get some mass back and forth across it so it doesn't seem so straight. Trying to wiggle fatter here, fatter there. Let it roll around a little bit, it becomes a little more natural. You see it's happening pretty quick. We came right up this thing, no problem. It's because the working time with this material is so short. If you mess around, you're gonna have a big blob of that kicked off hard. on the end of your spreader. You're gonna make a big ugly blob on your piece. That's no good. Stipple it a little bit on the edge. Sands down, makes a nice wood rot look. Get some underneath. Cool, right? Let that sit for a bit. All right, through the magic of television, I've attached this thing to the base of the rock. I've added another root here. I've tied on some lath because I'm gonna apply the concrete over the steel with that lath. And then we're gonna cover this whole thing with concrete. This thing's ready to go. But what I wanted to do before I get into that is sand the surface. Get some pretty tough grit sandpaper and knock down these edges. Later you'll see when I paint it, that it really starts to look like wood. That'll do. There we go. This is attached, the steel is all attached to a styrofoam block, EPS, expanded polystyrene. I've cut it down. You can do that with a knife or a saw or whatever you want to make your rock shape. But then I've carved a bunch of lines into it. The cement will shrink as it dries. And if this was perfectly smooth or smoothish, it would crack at the corners. But with this bit of tooth it's got, it grabs onto it and doesn't crack up. So what we got here is Portland. This is one of the ingredients for if you bought Quikrete. When you're sculpting, you want something more pure. Quickrete's got additives to where it kicks off too fast to really work with. You want to get straight Portland. Got some Portland here. Got some sand. So I like to mix a little more Portland in than I would sand. But this will make a batch that'll stick to our foam. This ingredient here is milled fiberglass fibers, chopped fibers. You mix them into the concrete and they help strengthen. Break this apart a little bit, get it spread out. Once we add water, it'll break up some more and spread out. You want this stuff in there. Gives you a little body, gives you some strength. A little bit of sand, feels like it. All right, we're gonna add some water. You just add it until it gets about like peanut butter. You don't want to put too much too quick. If you try to do this with just straight Portland, it would crack to pieces. But sand actually keeps it from cracking. That's what it's in there for. You're gonna need some sand. Too much sand is bad. It just seems, it's not good. It's just not carvable. Falls apart. A couple ways you can apply it. You can just smear it on with your hand sometimes. You know, just put that stuff straight on and kind of, we want it in these little cracks. So that's not so bad. You can also use a trowel, concrete trowel. Put it on here like that. You can apply it. Now this is just our first layer. With the fibers in it, you don't really want to carve that. You can, but you don't want to. It exposes the fibers. You'll see them after you're completely done. They're shiny and they don't look so natural. About 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch thick, so you get it into all the little pits. It's critical. A little scratch coat to get in all the pits. Then we'll put on another coat that'll be carvable. Next batch, I like to throw my water in and clean my bucket, because that stuff will dry up real quick. This batch, no fiber, Portland and sand. 2 parts sand, 1 part Portland. I like a little bit heavier on the Portland. This batch I'm going to do it a little bit thicker than last batch. I'm not trying to get it into little cracks anymore, and I might want to build up a little area. That's how I like it. See that? It's not just falling through your fingers. It's got a good body to it. First off, I'm going to take some of it and continue these roots a little bit. You just kind of pack it on. You have to kind of tap it to get it to stay. Put some real pressure on it. But I'm trying to cover up these wires that I've put over the top. You'll be amazed at how carvable the cement is as it's drying. It gets to a point where it's much like carving clay. All right, good, we got that. Now we're gonna do some rock surface. I want some raised edges. See that? I just built that corner up. So I'm gonna carve that away a little bit. And that's gonna be a high point between 2 chunks of rock. If you get chunks in it, like you can't work here without getting some styrofoam or bits, or if you get little pieces of pea gravel, when we're carving later, it actually works out in your benefit. You want to put on a pretty good amount this time around. Give yourself something to carve. We're not done. Right at the end, I like to go along the bottom of this thing just to beef it up so it won't be fragile at the bottom. like to build up a lot of something so that I can start to carve this. And these edges, that's the cleavage points. Those sharp edges is what makes it look like some real piece of stone broke. The lath will cut through your gloves. It will cut through your hands. You gotta really be careful around the cut edges of the metal lath. When you're pushing this around, it's gonna try and droop. Be strategic about how you get your hands on it and off of it. So the same tool we made earlier to drag through and give us wood grain, we're using it again on the cement. You can see it just leaves little lines. You can tap it a little. You don't want to be too aggressive because it'll fall right off here. Okay, so we've let the thing dry. It's been sitting about 2 hours now, and that's been indoors. Outdoors it would dry a lot quicker, but now that it's rigid enough, we can start carving. You just use the side of the tool like a scraper and start picking at this, scraping up the surface. Another tool you can get into is like a little loop tool, like a Kemper clay tool. These work really good. You're scratching around, you want to see what you got. Get a bucket of just dried Portland, just some of the dried material. A little cup of it, bucket, whatever. And you brush, we call this buffing it. You buff it up a little bit. It's gonna make the surface a lot smoother, softer. It's all about the little scallops, the wacos, the little natural breaks of the rock, lines of striation, cleavage points in your rock cluster. Do it strategically so you're using what you've laid out as far as depth goes. Work your cracks into it. How the cement breaks away from itself just really lends itself to that rock look. You'll appreciate the buffing later. All right, when you got most of that done, then we can do some details on our roots. A little knife into this tool. You can carve whatever you want. Make an obvious texture difference between the root and the rock. That up. And then now you gotta, from the top down, buff it off. You don't want to leave a bunch of debris sitting on top as it's curing. That stuff will harden and leave a lot of texture. Garden rock, something for the aquarium, something for the terrarium. There we go, that's pretty much it. We'll let this cure up so we can put some paint on it. Alright, so now we've waited a full day, maybe more, to let this fully harden. You can see it's fully rigid. I'm just going to start with some gray. Start brushing in loosely. You don't have to be too precise. The cement is really thirsty when it's fresh, so it sucks in the paint really well. You can do this with a spray gun or a brush, whatever you like. Big rocks, spray gun. Small piece like this, you can do it with a brush. Got a gray on there. I'm gonna put in a dry brush with a little bit of white. I'm just knocking it on here and there. So just trying to hit the high edges a little bit. Just to give it a little depth. Kind of haphazard, carelessly, but with intent. Now that that's mostly dry, I like to do a little stippling of two colors, white and black, or dark brown, or whatever you like. Just something that's going to contrast. Get a little paint on a palette, hit it with a little bit of water so it'll spray better. I like to use a stick to tap it on. You just start throwing dots at it. Now the white's on there, we're going to take a little black, same deal. Just tap it. Yeah, nice and organic. One more right there. Good. Alright, now I'm going to make a nice tan color, roots and whatnot. Don't have to worry about getting it in all the pits, because again, we're going to put a wash. I want to get some good color on it. It's already popping. Like I did with the rock area, I like to mix a little white with my base tree color and dry brush that. So you get a little two-tone, little something, so that when you put your wash on there, you get multiple colors. Good dark brown, so it looks earthy. Got some good color there. Let's add some water. A little bit of trick to this. when you mix a wash that you're gonna put over other paints like this, you should see your fingers through the wash. Your fingernails. See how you see the color? We're good. You're gonna apply this with a brush and then wipe it off. Start at the top because you're gonna have some things running down. Start putting it in all the cracks. I like to take a rag and roll it across it. Gives you some nice organic, like ragging, like a faux finish. If you just dab, sometimes you see the hand bop, bop, bop. So I like to roll it. It's real natural. You gotta keep going so you don't get any overlapping wick lines where your paint dries, then you put another wash on top of it, and then you get a overlap where it's gonna be really dark. So you gotta, as you're going, keep working. From a dry to wet, keep your edges wet. I changed my color up a little bit for the upper part, a little more brown, less black. Now you take some of this brown color, do some like erosion. Some stuff's coming off that tree and dripping onto our rocks. Directional, more strategic, right? You let that dry a little bit. All right, so we're mostly dry. At this point, I want to dry brush the edges of my rock a little bit. A little bit of dry brushing on your edges, I think makes it a lot more real. Show off those nice little pits we put in there. Rag always takes a little severity off of it, right? Lighten this up just a touch. Rocky root. I had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. So there we go. There we have it. The rocky root. See you guys. Thanks for joining us. Like us if you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button. Come back. We're going to keep doing it. Ooh, we should make a fake dog turd, right? You feed your dog, bro.